Welcome to The Resilient Responder, the podcast where we explore stories of strength, courage, and unwavering resilience in the face of life's challenges told by first responders. Join us on a journey of inspiration and empowerment as we dive in with Dylan, Josh, and Patrick. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Resilient Responder, hosted by Scars Incorporated and sponsored by First Responder Coaching. My name is Patrick Clark. I'm one of the co-hosts, and to my left we have
Dylan Olivito.
Good evening, and to his left we have the one and the only
Josh Hagan. Boy, hey, I'll tell you,
the
stars are lined back up. We're in the right order tonight, and I'm excited.
Well, yeah, I don't know what had us out of order last time. Who caused that?
Patrick
no,
did.
remember we had to have Jennifer for the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
for the,
yeah, we had to do something
He
special
deemed
last
that
week.
we weren't smart
Right,
enough to
that's
run
what
the
that's what it was.
laptop.
Yeah, it wouldn't let us
deemed-
touch buttons.
It wasn't that. It was the fact that we needed to be able the microphone on the iPad had to be able to talk
No, is that what it is?
because we couldn't use our mics that we normally use.
Well, before we get too far into it, I think it's important to mention the Resilient Responder. Why we're here as the Resilient Responder and hosted by Scars. So a huge shout out to FRC, First Responder Coaching, who has graciously invited us to host the Resilient Responder, which is now available on what platforms, Patrick?
So on the live version, which will just be the video and the audio, obviously, you'll have Facebook and YouTube. On social media platforms, it's Facebook and Instagram. And then on the podcast, it will be Apple, Google, and Spotify, or I'm sorry, Amazon, and I believe Spotify, but I'm still waiting the confirmation on that one.
Awesome.
So we're a little bit everywhere.
So growing the platform, which is a great thing for not only us, but the community as a whole. Get our podcast, get our voices out to a larger crowd, hopefully get some more folks on board with what we're doing, and really watch this thing grow and blossom. So along with that, we're still awaiting our first responder coaching session for our own, which will be very exciting to become first responder coaches and to be able to interact with all of you on that level as well. So again, huge shout out, huge thanks to Jennifer Anderson for putting her trust and faith in us as hosts.
And her team.
And her team.
Audrey and Megan, I believe was the.
Yep.
All of them, they've been super welcoming. They as you can tell, our setup's a little bit different tonight.
There's just more stuff. It's not that it's different. There's just more stuff.
There is a lot more stuff.
We got to talk closer to a microphone or something. I don't know. Whatever.
But they gave us some equipment to kind of help spin us up off the ground on the podcast side, which has been great.
Mm-hmm.
So a huge shout out to that team for helping us as we progress on our journey.
Last time when we started, we did a shout out, so everyone kind of let us know where you're at, and we see who you are, but let us know where you're at and see how far out we're reaching. I know we have a lot of people from different areas that come on, and I thought our last show was really awesome. We were able to get some good information. A lot of people reached out and gave phone numbers out. We had somebody that was in need, and hopefully we were able to reach out to them and have good conversations.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing to everybody kind of just say where you're at.
Now, our camera is stationary, but we also have a couple in-house tonight. So sitting over to our right, Mr. Shane Brown. He's in from Florida this week. Wanted to come and see where the show's done at.
Downtown
Shane Brown, straight from Sunstar Paramedic, is it, Shane?
Yes, sir.
Out of Florida. And also we have Mike Swagger sitting here. We've been talking about a little joint venture that he and I was talking about some last night. It was just starting to get on board with learning a little bit more about this other project that may be coming up, which we'll talk about here in just a couple of minutes. See some Myrtle Beach family there.
And we can always depend on Louie.
Oh yeah.
Louie has got to be probably not our top, but Louie is dedicated.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's missed a show.
He's not listening by himself either.
No, I was
That's
going
right.
to say,
He's
I
li-
think
he's at the fire
Louis
hall, isn't he?
listens
I don't
from
know
a
if
fire
he's at the
station.
fire station tonight or
Yeah,
not.
where you at
I know
tonight,
his
Louis?
wife's with him.
We also have I see the Myrtle Beach clan, the Batlows.
That's what I said,
and
the
Waynes,
family.
The family. I know that they're separate. I know Cheryl's at work, and
Look,
I
there's
think
St.
Wayne
Pete.
and Chris are at the house with. But
Melody Brown in St. Pete, Florida. I believe that's some of Shane over there's kinfolk.
this is the rewarding part for the fact that I don't like that.
What?
We just went into a buffering stage. We'll figure out what that's all about here in just a second. But the really cool part is being able to see
Check
that family
Check
and
that.
be able to see the it's working, to be able to see all the people that have been following us and continue to follow us. So that's great. Louis says, no, I'm at the house. My wife is listening in. Cool. All right, so we're back on now.
All right, back in there.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Internet is it's kind of spotty.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's technology, man. It's all about
Rain.
technology. It's the rain, power plant effect. You know, we'll blame the power plant. It's why I have 6 toes. Y'all didn't know that, did you?
What's your excuse, Josh?
I lived on the other side.
Yeah, that's what it was. The wind blew the different direction. So again, you know, the resilient responder. Thank you again for FRC, Jennifer Anderson and her team for giving us this opportunity. We're gonna make the best of it, and we froze again.
It's all right. Just keep on.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. So what are we off to tonight? First of all, as the audience has now changed a little bit and has grown, maybe just a brief reintroduction of not only what SCARS is, but what first responder coaching and the resilient responder is going to be all about now.
So the resilient responder was started by first responder coaching. There was initially a gentleman that was the host of it, and his name has departed from me. But whenever you had the ability to reach out and meet with Jennifer at Buchanan, I believe.
Oh, through JB Kimball, yeah. Yeah.
And Buchanan Fire Department, you were able to meet up with them, and you and Jennifer got to connect and make it so that you guys kind of found your basically each other's mats.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were able to find that mesh in between,
See if that's
and
still-
see that you guys were able to continue to how you can continue to grow this platform. So with that, they us and first responder coaching got together. We threw out some ideas, and they needed to get their podcast up and running. So we jumped in feet first, like we do with everything, and we made sure to join ventures with each other as we continue to grow our journey, and also continue to help first responder coaching as they continue to go through. So it's been a little bit of it's been a little weird. The transition has been for us a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
but
very
it's
weird.
it's proven to be effective for us. It's been great to see
froze.
okay, that's okay. It's been great to be able to see the cohesiveness between the two agencies, and as we continue to grow forward and get everything worked out, then we'll be able to hopefully, the ultimate thing is to grow the platform.
Absolutely.
Grow, not only
Absolutely.
SCARS, but also first responder coaching. And then part of the rebranding will be that this will be known as the Resilient Responder instead of the SCARS live stream.
Absolutely.
So it'll be the Resilient Responder hosted by SCARS Incorporated and sponsored by First Responder Coaching.
Now, give us just a second. We're going to try to deal with just a little bit of technical difficulty here and see if we can't come up with a solution. Maybe reboot our network.
Yeah, we could probably do that. I'm just afraid. And if I do that, I'm going to lose the live. I'm going to lose this, and I don't want to lose that.
Technology, you got to love it.
Yeah, technology is always the hindrance of
Yeah,
everything.
Louis saying we can't even hear us. He says just buffering.
Let's try this and see. Because this thing was saying it was that it was overheating earlier.
It did that one other time.
It did
yeah.
it at Sarah's.
Yeah.
Let's try to let that reboot and see what we're back. So YouTube for the go ahead. the people on YouTube, or I'm sorry, the people that are watching on Facebook, if you can still hear us.
They can.
Okay. Switch to YouTube if you can. It's at Scars FR Services for the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is working according to, we got one person that's watching, or two people that are watching on YouTube. They're telling us it's working.
So YouTube is working.
Yeah, YouTube is definitely working. It looks like Facebook might be having one of its fits.
Moments.
Yeah, a Facebook moment, if you would. The thing is, once we will repost this video, so we can continue on through, and we'll repost this. Matt said Control-Alt-Delete.
Yeah, that's right. The fix-all.
Just turn it off and turn it back on. That will work for everything. But we'll repost this video for Facebook, and so Zane is now telling us that Facebook is back up and YouTube is now working. So it looks like it may just be our signal possibly here, but I have the comments pulled up.
We've got good signal on the thing. It might, okay.
And we also have, I have the comments pulled up here, and it's working on here too.
All
So we
right.
can continue on
All right,
through.
continuing. Sweet.
So, but anyway, so we came all together. That's how the Resilient Responder kind of came to play for us. Jennifer and her team were kind enough to allow us to be part of the coaching class. We're in the process of getting ready to get started for that. And with that, we all wanted to be able to grow our platform. SCARS was constantly wanting to grow and become more than what it was. And then Jennifer's team was also trying to get their word out.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for all of us to be able to come together.
Yeah, so a little bit about first responder coaching is, they have coaches all throughout the U.S. Unfortunately, there were none yet here in West Virginia. I was able to first meet with them at FDIC in April this past year and started the conversation. Thanks to J.B. Kimball and Buchanan Fire Department, that conversation was able to continue and flourish into what we have as of tonight. The Resilient Responder is not a new podcast. It's actually, I'm not even sure how many episodes there was. I went back and listened to a few just to kind of get a feel for what they were doing versus what we were doing, and see if we can't kind of mingle that together and grow that platform bigger. So what we're trying to do is, by all means, like our page, like First Responder Coaching, sign up, hit your Apple iTunes, look for the Resilient Responder, hit us up on YouTube. The more likes, the better. Let's grow this thing and let's really get the word out. Capitalizing on that, I want to talk about a couple other things real quick because, it's been an exciting couple weeks, right?
That's like for us.
For us, we've gotten all new equipment that we're sitting here trying to figure out how to use while we're live on the air, which is great. It's that challenge. It's the thing that first responders do, right? Like, here's a new piece of equipment. Let's see if you can break it in 20 minutes. And we obviously did since we froze the connection, right? But some of the other things that's been going on is some outreach with some other counties. We've been very fortunate to get to go talk to a few local counties here regarding not only the EMS services as a whole, but mental health and resilience as a side note for some of that. We have another one coming up this week. Huge shout out here because Mike, that's with us tonight over here in the studio, Mike Swagger, got me hooked up with the folks from Operation Active Vet, and that is a veteran-owned and operated nonprofit organization that SCARS is going to be soon doing some work with, we hope, and kind of intermingling some of those services. So when we think about first responder coaching and we think about mental health issues and that trauma, and as we've talked about before, cumulative trauma, they deal with a lot of the same things. And we find out that a lot of our veterans, when they come back from the service, they go into jobs in law enforcement, and they go into jobs as EMS and fire and so on and so forth, nursing positions, CAs, things like that. And that trauma continues to accumulate. So not only are they dealing with their demons from the battlefield, but they're rolling right back into another career that continues to build that trauma onto them. So what these guys are doing is really cool and really special because they're a 501c3 not-for-profit. They are out there trying to get veterans actively involved in other activities. They just come back from a nice camping trip this weekend where it was all paid for by the organization. They fed them all weekend. They put them up in cabins and tents and everything else. They do a really nice gun bash. They made a great deal of money on their last gun bash, and that's going to go back into the community, into the veterans community. And hopefully, as we continue to progress forward, we can get some of those folks into the coaching as well, and be able to build that footprint all the way around.
And some of the stuff with SCARS looking out at the foresight was first responders helping first responders, and this is something we're talking to Mike and being able, the excitement of veterans helping veterans. And we have a lot of listeners, a part of our show that are veterans and first responders. But what we do isn't solely, the coaching isn't solely for first responders. It can be for anything. And the more conversations that we've had tonight, the more people that we could reach out and help. And that's what it comes down to, is helping people.
Right.
But I think, I'm sorry. I don't
No,
mean to
go
cut you
ahead.
off. I think one of the things that there's a bigger picture to all this, and and I'm not saying that first responders are equivalent to military personnel or veterans. I'm not saying that at all. But there's a lot of commonalities between it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that we share, that we try to internalize information and we try to compartmentalize things. And the same thing is happening from the armed services standpoint, is that they are also fighting demons just on a little bit of a different level than what first responders are.
Right.
So I think when you look at the coaching aspect of it, you're really hitting the same topics, and you're really kind of diving into what it looks like for me to handle a problem versus a military personnel who, I know the three of us have nothing but love for military personnel. I mean,
Sure.
those fine men and women are what make this country what it is. Make this, home of, land of the free, home of the brave type deal. And Mike made a very good analogy before the show started. Is within the United States, the first responders are the Marine Corps. Is that what you said? They're the Marine Corps within the United States, because ultimately, when it comes down to it, if God forbid something large scale happens, you have first responders
Yep.
and military
We're all gonna be
personnel,
right in the middle of
and
it.
they're all, and you're going to be hand in hand.
Yeah.
And that's going to, that's one of the big
Well,
things.
you think about that analogy too of, our troops going into battle, and think about going back to, for those of us that were alive and remember it, which hopefully is more than not, but, think about the 343, how many people went running towards the battle. And there's where the big similarity for me is we're always running towards that danger, right? So, and with an active war going on right now, it's a matter of time before somehow the U.S. has more of a role in that situation. So we know that our troops are actively preparing for the worst, whether that's something over across the pond, or whether that's something that's going to happen here stateside. But these folks are preparing themselves for trauma, as we speak.
Well, we talked about in our last show the first responders in Israel right now, and the
Yeah.
stuff that they're going through and they're seeing.
Yeah.
And look at the
So,
military personnel.
yeah,
I mean, anybody that's been watching the news over the last couple of weeks are seeing the amount of death and devastation that is happening over there. And there are people that have to see that. There are people that are going to have to deal with children being killed, and women and children, men, women, and children being killed, and basically by savages.
Yeah.
And there was a short article that I read the other day talking about, these savages are throwing grenades into basically like fallout shelters, and they're killing kids, women, kids, men that are just trying to save themselves. They're just trying to stay protected. And you said at the federal level, it's going to happen one day. First responders and military personnel, they're going to walk hand in hand, and at the federal level is where we want to be, as from a coaching standpoint, and from a standpoint of being able to find the help. I mean, it's Mike and Dylan were talking beforehand. The amount of vet programs that are available is nothing but astounding, and I love it. I love to see that, and I will never not support those because that means a lot. But it's time to grow that, and it needs to be under one umbrella to where it incorporates, military personnel, first responders, people that are actively doing very similar things.
Well, I tell you, another one that was a very interesting one that we talked about before the show tonight was teachers. You don't think about the teachers as a frontline worker as much. However, I've met some of the
20
kids
years,
that my daughter goes to school with, and that is a battlefield. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Well,
you know,
look at the last 20, 25 years with school shootings.
school shootings.
There's a lot of things with that.
Suicide at a young age.
I think,
And look at the mass shooting that just had in Maine a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to the point to where this entire world now is a boiling pot of hell, basically, and it's erupting in little tiny places, and they're killing innocent people. These savages are, and we won't get into the political aspect of it, but these savages are going out and they're killing these people, and who runs? Who goes to help the people?
yeah. One of the things that I find interesting in this is that we started SCARS in conversation, and then you went to a meeting in Buchanan and met up with Jennifer, and here we are with the resilient responder, and then Mike comes up here tonight, and then we start talking about the veterans, and it happened to be a phone conversation. I don't know if you want to get into that, but the conversation, I'll let you tell that story, but the conversation itself, how quick each platform and each part of this pie is so apt to help the other, because we're all in the same battle.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little further than that, because this is the first of our version of the resilient responder, right? So the beginning was the idea on a napkin. Oh, well, let's do a podcast and see if anybody pays attention to it. That went on to more people than what we thought would pay attention to it. We said if we built a Facebook page and we got 100 likes, we'd do a live show, right? That was the initial. That was the big goal. 100 likes.
Now our
100
videos
likes
are
went,
on average 1,000 views.
Yeah, so we went from 1,000 likes to doing the shows. Took the summer off. Unfortunately, what brought us back to the studio was our own loss.
Yeah.
The loss of a friend, and I think that all of us knew immediately that we had to get back behind the desk and do something special, and it hasn't stopped since. And from that point, the growth has been phenomenal. And think about from that point. So for those of you that are new to our show, we lost a first responder friend to suicide in September 12th of 2023, the day after 9/11, and we went back to the drawing board and did a show that following Friday, which was the 15th, 14th, whatever it was, and it's been boots on the ground ever since. So in that amount of time, our good friend Jason Morgan, got us in with Valley Mental Health in Morgantown to help provide services for first responders. We're supposed to have a follow-up meeting here in the very near future on that, where they can fund it through federal funding, a federal grant program up until 2026, which hopefully we can extend that federal funding, but we can roll that over onto some of the first some of the veterans that need help that aren't getting the help that they need as well. So from there, we went with meeting with first responder coaching with Jennifer, as well as getting to meet with Upshur County Commission and the first responders in their area to start building a mental health resiliency program. So we were very fortunate to get to sit in on that conversation, which led to first responder coaching and us having a conversation of this is what the future may hold. See, Jason pops on right as I'm talking about him. His ears must have been burning. So from there, we got all the equipment to upgrade the podcast to go on a bigger platform. We're trying to build our YouTube page even bigger. Our goal is again, we set these small goals of, let's get 1,000 subscribers. We want 500, but 1,000 is bread and butter for us. If we can get 1,000 folks to subscribe and like our YouTube page, then we can grow the platform even bigger. The goal for FRC is to grow the platform 20%. And so it's more exciting stuff. Now with Operation Active Vet, now we're going to be able to grow their platform, grow our platform. They have some really cool things to offer veterans and first responders. They have some really cool ideas for fundraisers, and they do a good job at fundraisers, but that's money that can go right back into helping the first responder community by building coaches, building mental health resiliency officers, and getting some folks out to the outdoor world and to different events that maybe they're not able to do on their own, or maybe they don't feel comfortable doing because of their own inside struggles, their own personal demons that may not allow them to do
It's
that.
just the same. It's a therapy.
Sure.
At the end of the day, it's a therapy.
Yep.
And
But,
it's a different style of therapy.
And that's exactly it. Maybe the context of the word therapy has been taken for years in the wrong way, and maybe it is the kayaking, the fishing, the ATV riding, the
Sitting around a
walk,
campfire with your buddies,
right?
and
A
telling
bonfire.
stories. Because you can't tell me how many campfires that you get the same group of people from the same walks of life, and what's the first thing that we start telling? Telling
stories,
stories. We
right.
start
Yep.
telling
War
And
stories.
The more that you start talking about it, the more that that weight is coming off your shoulders, and that elephant's starting to ease off your chest a little bit, because now you're around peers. You don't feel awkward,
Right.
telling some Joe Smo down the street. You're around peers, and hey, I had something similar to that, and it really messed me up. Or even after you walk away from that campfire, say, hey, I seen that bothered you a little bit. I have a similar story. If you ever need anything, I'm here for you.
But that's how. But that is honestly. You guys talk about the back parking lot at the firehouse, and there are many people that can share that. But it's also the off-site bonfire, or just going out, just hanging out with your buddies even. And
Well,
the
and I
more you
think-
talk about that, the more that you're open. You don't know it, but you're healing yourselves.
Veterans don't have back parking lots
Right.
they have VFWs and
right.
they have American Legions and stuff like that.
So humor me this. They're just on this platform, there's 23 on live, all right? 23 people, and give me a thumbs up if this has ever been you, all right? You're in a group of people who aren't like you, and when I say that, they don't come from our background. They don't come from a military background, a fire EMS, a nursing, a law enforcement, and you find yourself having anxiety from being in that situation of being around a bunch of people that would not understand what you're talking about. Or if you would go into a story where they will say to you, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? And you get immediately thrown into a panic attack because you don't want to relive your worst day on the job or days. Show thumbs up if that's you. Has it been at you at least once?
But just look at this though. Jason Morgan had some good conversation tonight with some first responders about our future of mental wellness checks and counseling for the frontline workers. Larry, EMS agencies have to have buy-in. You're right, and you, both of you are 100% correct when it comes to that. This though is the fact that you can sit down with your buddies. That the three of us, it was a napkin idea.
Yeah.
Sure.
You and I
Sure.
met at Applebee's, and you came up here to talk to Josh, and then the three of us came together, and you knew what we were going to talk about. We didn't know.
We had no idea.
No clue.
I mean,
No.
do you remember the first show? I do. Yeah, Josh is like, what are we going to talk about whenever he presses that button? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I got no
We're
idea.
just gonna make it go.
But we did, and by doing that, we always thought it was going to be how are we going to fill an hour. An hour goes by now in no time for us, and we talk about you brought up a good point before Dylan walked in tonight. We can only talk about trigger points for so long, right?
That's right.
We got to find something else to talk about. Well, this is it. I mean, it is like this is the this is the what Jason Morgan said. You know, this is the conversation with our frontline workers, and we need them to be here.
Yeah.
We
Sure.
need them to be here with us because last show, who was the one that was Shane?
Shane Moomaw.
Shane
Yeah,
Moomaw.
Shane Moomaw.
You know,
Huge shout out.
the vulnerability that he put in his comment.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, it makes the hair
shivering.
stand up.
Oh
on the
my
back.
goodness.
Yeah, it makes the hair on the arm stand up.
Absolutely.
But
But the
did
response
that
of
help?
the followers
Yeah, right.
too.
How many
Right.
phone numbers
That's
went up?
what
after
makes
Exactly.
Yeah.
Immediately there was the family that reached out.
Yeah.
Because it is, and the other part of that is, I know so many people, and a lot of the people that you're scrolling through the names right now, looking at the comments and stuff, and I'm one of them. Before fire and EMS, I was a huge extrovert. What happens after you've dealt with the trauma for so long? You become an introvert. You have such a small community that you start to feel isolated. You start to feel isolated from the world, and you think that nobody's out there that understands this, but your partner, you know, or but the person you work with, or, you know, and even, thank God for dogs, exactly. You know, some folks out there have, you know, spouses, significant others that don't understand the business either. And that makes it hard. So how do you go home to somebody who doesn't understand the trauma that you just went through, and they say, how was your day? And that's a trigger, because you're now an introvert that just wants to get, you know, you want to crack a beer, sit in front of the TV and do nothing and not socialize with anybody. So it changes the way that we perceive crowds, the way that we perceive public. You know, we're always more vigilant when we go somewhere. We sit, you know, we sit facing the door of a restaurant. We find an exit at a hotel before we check into our room. You know, we figure out what laws have concealed carry laws that govern along with West Virginia before we go on any trip, and we plan our trip to make sure that we stay out of the states that don't allow. You know, I hate going to Maryland because I can't carry a concealed
Most
weapon.
of
in
my
Maryland.
job is in Maryland,
So
but we're good everywhere but Maryland.
But those are the things that are shared between military personnel and first responder and frontline workers. Is our entire attitude change?
Zane said, I can't be around people not in fire, EMS, or law enforcement. And that right there resonates because there's a lot of people
Yeah.
in our profession
Well, think
that
of some
can't
of the-
do that
think of
because
some of the stuff that we talk about. I mean,
who the hell are you going to talk about it with?
That's
right?
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like
they'll be calling 911 on you,
Right.
saying, "Hey, there's some loony over here."
we
Right.
need, but I mean, you know, we have the ability to sit up here and with like-minded people. And you know, it doesn't matter if you're in your station or wherever you may be, but to be able to sit with those like-minded people and to tell those stories and to kind of peel back that onion, and it takes you said it takes a little bit off your shoulders. It
Yeah.
does. It takes a huge load off of, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact.
Yeah.
Just by talking about it, and that's so. Some of the things that you talked about earlier, Patrick, is we can't continue to sit here and talk about trigger points. I love when people tell us their stories and we can kind of talk about them. And I know that tonight, when we talked about bringing a guest on, we have a whole lot more gadgets and stuff that Patrick has to play with and learn, because Dylan and I are definitely not learning any of this.
No.
This is way beyond our technical.
What was that
skill.
on it? I'm lucky to get my TPS
Reports.
reports on time. Yeah.
The thing you posted last week, one of my friends sent it to me, and it said, "So literally, the only reason you're there is for the electronics."
Yep. The only reason is for the electronics.
So we have all these new gadgets and toys that Patrick has to learn to play with, and all these platforms that we have to learn how to post on. But going forward, what's it look like? You know,
Right.
Yes.
I would love to remote people. I would love to take the road show. I'd like to go and see Louis. I see Louis quite a bit, but I like to see Louis out of work. in different places and check different places
So,
out.
so
See
we were
what's going
lucky
on.
enough to have Matt and Mike come once. And then the last episode was the first time we remoted somebody in.
And that worked well.
And that worked well.
It did.
Oh, I got to stop you guys. This last comment, let's talk about that for a second.
They're popping in so fast. You got to talk.
This one, the
Okay.
Jonathan,
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to say that correctly.
Marcingill?
Markingill. I hope I'm saying that right, Jonathan. I'm really sorry, but I want to focus on that for a second. They're pushing the drugs through when there are scientifically
don't.
proven natural options.
Don't get on this high horse. Do you
But
want to?
no, I do want to get on this high horse because we're killing our veterans and first responders through chemical warfare. Is just what I'm going to call it. It's chemical warfare.
It 100% is chemical warfare. Because,
Yes.
Because what do we do? Because immediately when we come back, we say the words, I'm struggling, I'm having a problem, something like that. And the first thing that a doctor will do is what?
Write you a medication.
Say it again. Medication. Right off the bat.
Yep.
There's nothing, there's no other talks about anything.
No.
You and I talked about this a couple weeks ago because it hit home. But why? When did that become the norm?
Listen, I'll admit, I'm medicated. Do I like it? No. Do I like the fact that I rely on a pill to get me through the day? Absolutely not. Now,
Does it get you through the day or does it make the day easier? There's a difference.
it depends on the day.
But
It depends on the day.
But I mean that somebody put in here earlier. I got to find the comment real quick. Somebody was talking about Ben. He said, with anxiety, I've learned who I could reach out to any time of the day, whether a military buddy, friend of mine, or Josh. I know I have people, and I want others to know that they have people. I suffer from anxiety. I didn't know it for the longest time. I just thought it was normal for me to be constantly stressed out and everything, and I struggle with anxiety bad. I can't stand to be in large groups. It bothers me. I can't stand really loud noises. But and I'm medicated for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it helps.
Mm-hmm.
If I miss a dose, I'm not going through withdrawals.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not crippled.
So I think where I'm starting to go with that is, are the folks that we seek for help who automatically decide that a medication is the way to go. You know, everybody wants to jump up here and talk about gateway drugs. Are our own physicians gatewaying us into more severe problems down the road?
Absolutely.
Not only from, statistically, we're already alcoholics. Most first responders, military vets, there is an alcohol problem in there. Now you add a substance on top of that, depending on what that substance is. But when that doesn't work and you can't feel normal or you can't feel anything anymore, what do you go to next?
You go to the next strongest thing.
Well,
the next strongest thing.
What Jonathan just said, what you go to is medical marijuana to help you wean off of all that other crap. But, one, we're not medical doctors. We seen in this country a huge opioid epidemic where doctors were way too quick to scribe out a whole bunch of crap. And maybe, I think they've got their thumb on that, but you're seeing the backlash of it too. You see a lot of drugs, heroin and different things locally even, of people fighting that fight of addiction. But now what you guys are talking about, I think they're possibly quick to throw out scribes of antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
So
Look at all these that are coming in.
oh yeah,
I
I'm
know.
saying
Jason
Yeah.
Morgan that's powerful. Jonathan, and he's right, scripts, and that's what they do. Because when it doesn't work, and you go back to the doctor, and you're like, hey, it's not working. I'm still
Yeah.
struggling. What do they do? They add something else.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
and of
right.
course, every time you start talking about the medical marijuana, they start threatening that they're going to take your license away, your paramedic license or your EMS card, or so on. You can't buy a gun anymore, and you can't
Yeah.
have a concealed carry permit. But yet I can go out here and buy a 12-pack at the Go Mart
Drive your car.
and drink all of it and play with my guns, and nobody says anything.
You could sit in that same parking lot, drink it, and then get in your car and drive.
Unfortunately,
legal,
it's
but
not
you can do
legal,
it.
right? So.
But I mean, and that's the whole medical marijuana thing. There's people that have different ideas and thoughts about that, and that's fine. Your thoughts are your thoughts, and your
Sure.
opinions are your opinions. But if it works, if there's scientific, proven, factual data that it works, what in the hell is stopping us?
Yeah.
Medication should not mask a deeper issue.
I think
Absolutely,
that's the key
Chris.
thing of what Chris just said.
Yep.
And Patrick kind of hit on what you were talking about, or what you started to talk about was, is it making it easier? Is it fixing the problem? And there's certain things of human emotion that you should deal with. That you need to figure out. You're never going to fix our issues.
I was
if
going to
we
say,
don't
is
deal
there a
with-
true fix?
There's not a fix.
You don't want it. You're
No,
not
but-
looking for a
but
fix.
how
You're
do
looking
you-
at how to make it better.
That's right. But I think that's what SCARS is. I think that's what the mindset was, is not a fix. And in the first few episodes, we're not looking for a fix, but we are looking for the root issues of being able to talk and to have conversation without medical dependency. I'm not saying the medicine's bad. I'm just saying that
Maybe there's a different route.
maybe there's a different route.
Yeah. But I mean, when we sat down at Applebee's, and I'm sure whenever you came up here and talked to Josh, and the first time we all three came together, how many
He
stories?
came with the 12-pack from 7-Eleven.
I know I'm banned from this 7-Eleven for some reason. I had to go to Go Mart.
But how many times have we shared our stories?
Yeah.
We've talked about the house fire in Lumberport multiple times.
Yeah.
We talked about the house fire in Charleston.
Yeah.
We've talked about several calls, and the Operation Activet. Can we talk about it?
Well, yeah, let's talk about
Let's
it.
talk about the story behind it. The phone conversation when Mike hooked you up with
sure.
this guy. Because
So-
this is powerful.
I think
So and Mike's sitting here and can help me fill in the blanks, because some of it was a blur, because I really got so entranced in what I was hearing on the other end of the phone. So
By the sounds of it, he was too.
yeah, so last evening, Mike calls me and says, this gentleman would really like to talk to you. And I'm like, great, and he said, well, he's eating right now, and soon as we get a free moment, we'll call you back. And I said, great, I'm here, I'll answer the phone, no big deal. So this gentleman's name's Chuck, and Chuck gets on the phone with me and starts talking about Operation Activet and what they're doing. And he says, sometimes we have 20 people show up. This weekend we only had 5 or 6, and we invited Mike over, and we fed Mike all weekend. And I said, well, if you offer Mike free food, he's like a dog, he doesn't go away. So we had a little laugh about that, but he started talking about some of the things that he's doing, and it started to click. And he asked if I knew
His son.
no,
Oh.
no, it didn't start like that. Who was the police officer? Johnny Groves. And I said, oh, yeah, I know him. He goes, okay, well, we won't bring him up again. I said, okay, that sounds good. I said, well, wait. I said, didn't you guys do some work with Jason Morgan? And he said, yeah, Jason was at our gun bash. He said, we did, really well at the gun bash, and that's to provide services for the veterans that come and help us out. And he said, this company was actually founded by my son. And, as a 501c3 not-for-profit agency to help veterans. And my son had a lot of friends and was involved some with local first responders. And, and he died in 2019. And the conversation kind of switched. And I said, if you don't mind me asking, I said, how did your son pass away? And he said, well, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And I don't know why this triggered me, but I said, wait a second, is your son CJ? And Mike said at that point, the guy's jaw hit the ground, And he said, yes, sir, it is. I said, I was there. I said, I can remember every detail about that call. Now, this call was in 2019, right after a WVU football game, and I can remember it like I went on it yesterday. I can't tell you what I ate yesterday, but I can remember every detail of this call from beginning to end. So immediately I felt that connection with him and felt like, okay, this call happened for a reason. You know, Mike was in that area for a reason, talked to that guy and got a hold of me for whatever reason. God allowed that to all get lined up. So, you know, we talk a lot about, and at least I do, and from the businesses, is we work towards finding our why in life, right? So a lot of us that do fire and EMS, we're looking for that why, and our why is to help other people. And I went to bed last night thinking about Chuck and thinking about CJ and how we could make something that was really special for both, you know, first responders, frontline workers, and veterans. And I can't think of a better way to be able to do that, but to come together with these folks, have some conversation, and
We've
see what
talked
we
about
can
this in
do.
the past.
Absolutely.
We've talked about this in the
But
past, but we
just
didn't
for
know
those
how.
stars to align,
Yeah.
and the way that they did is just phenomenal. So, you know, whether you have faith, whether you know, whatever you believe for whatever, but, you know, things get put in your path for a reason. And you overcome things for a reason, and you start things for a reason. And that was something that was that was meant to be last night. And I was very humbled and honored to get to talk to this gentleman, and also know that I was there to try to help his son in his time of need. So we'll get
Kudos
to,
to him, though.
but we'll get to sit and talk about that. You know, we'll get to, and that for him that'll be closure. For me, that's closure, and that's one thing that we often look for in a situation is closure. It's because a lot of times we don't get that
You don't
closure.
get it.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't get that follow-up. You don't get what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get to take them and drop them off, and then
Right.
that's it.
Yeah.
Or
absolutely.
you know, you get the infamous, and that brings up a lot of things whenever, and my dad just said, we remember every detail, the sights, the smells.
Oh,
And
the
it's
smells
true.
are the worst. You can drive down the road and with your window down and your car stereo up, and a certain smell that you drive through that you don't even think about can trigger, and you'll catch yourself. You reach up and you turn that radio down, and you roll that window down a little bit further, and a memory hits you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes that's a good one, and sometimes it's a terrible one, but you get zoned into that moment.
Or you go by a place, you drive by somewhere, you remember, or you know, a song come. For me, it's a song. You know, I've struggled for the longest time with losing my mother. That's been one of my biggest struggles since 2021. Just because I'm a mama's boy through and through, and you know, it's
We know.
the right.
We can tell.
I mean,
We
well,
can
no,
tell,
I mean,
yeah.
it's legit. I'll never deny that. But you know, it's my mother and I. We shared music. That was the thing that we
yeah.
shared was music. And now a music, you know, a song will come on my playlist or something, and it will trigger a memory of my mother.
Yeah.
Or you know, driving past somewhere will trigger a memory of a call that I ran, or talking to somebody about a similar situation will trigger something about a call or an incident that took place. And you know, this is this is also this is also for the veteran side of it.
I'm sorry for some of your some of the comments
you're
made me
fine.
laugh.
I'm
I
triggered
love
by
that
pumpkin
one.
spice.
Triggered by pumpkin spice. Listen, I think a lot of people are triggered by pumpkin spice. So I happen to love it. But
Are you
know,
serious?
I do love pumpkin spice. Yes.
You give up your man card every time you drive by.
Yes, I do. It's fine.
But I mean, you know, but it's just, you know, the military side of this is just as much, you know, imagine, you know, you hear them talk a lot about on the 4th of July, how traumatic that is for somebody that was in the military. You know, gunfire or fireworks or whatever it may be. You know, the things that attract crowds, like, you know, fireworks at a WVU game or an NFL game.
And that was one of the big things even here, because we put a big 4th of July party on here,
Yeah.
and we try to coincide with the city because of the veterans and the animals. There's a lot of dogs and different animals that have anxiety towards it. So, you know, we kind of try to play it, but there's a lot of people on this road that suffer from anxiety.
There are, right? And you know, anxiety comes. You know, there are some of these. Not that I promote Facebook in any shape, form, or fashion, other than the fact that we stream on it. But you know, some of the things that people put up of what anxiety looks like. You know, and when it goes into all the different descriptives of anxiety, and you know, it's legit.
Yeah. We missed the mark tonight. You know that, right?
We did.
Yeah, because, you know, right before we froze up solid, we were going to kind of reintroduce ourselves just because of the platform change, and hopefully as early as tomorrow, this thing will be streaming on Apple and things like that. So, number one, I want to take just a few minutes to talk about each one of our backgrounds. And Patrick, I want to make you start just because I like to do that to you. But you know, for the new listeners who may already subscribe to the Resilient Responder and is waiting on a new episode to come out, a quick introduction formally from us to you.
Well, my name is Patrick Clark. I've fire and EMS is my main EMS is my main background. I did volunteer fire since 2001, 2002, something like that, and finally decided that I didn't want to do it anymore and hung it up. I've been in EMS since 2003. Did some paramedic work on the ground, interfacility transports, 911 based, flight time in a single engine aircraft like Dylan likes to give me hell for.
It was missing two wings and a motor.
And then I've held just about every role in EMS other than a director level.
That's overrated, ain't it, pal?
Sometimes.
It's way overrated.
Sometimes it can be. But Dylan and I have known each other since Mikey, 2014. And when Dylan and I came together, we got on each other's nerves a lot.
Well, I think we were very similar.
We were, or we are.
yeah.
Not we were. Yeah. But you know, Dylan and I have continued to grow and flourish our relationship together, and you know, Dylan and I both shared this love for helping others, and it turned more than that when it was under Dylan's command for a while, and watching how he helped me through a difficult situation, my mother. In 2021, Dylan was a big part of my healing, of dealing with my mom, who was very, very close to me because Dylan checked on me every single day. He would reach out to me, he would talk to me, he would just say, "Hey, I just want you to know that I'm here for you." And you know, as we continue to do that, and as we both continue to dive into the love for mental health, you know, that's how I ended up seated to his right.
God, if I remember right, we were in the middle of a critical incident stress debriefing when we got the call for your mother.
Yep.
So it was just a very odd time. It was one of those things where we had so much build up in a very short amount of time. And I think that really drew our friendship a lot closer, because I think I handed somebody the keys to my company vehicle and said, get him wherever he needs to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, Josh, your turn.
Oh, Josh Hagan. I've been doing this for 26 years and mainly fire, actually solely fire. I'm also a veteran. So 1997, I started with Lumberport Volunteer Fire Department. I'm a third generation firefighter. I've shared this passion with my father and my brother. Grew up in it, and I went to the Coast Guard right out of high school and spent 5.5 years in New Jersey. I was a part of September 11th in New York. Spent 45 days from September 11th in Queens. We boarded every inbound, outbound vessel through New York Harbor. So we got to see a lot of stuff, experience a lot of things through the Coast Guard.
I never knew that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, never heard that.
going back down memory lane, I was telling Patrick earlier, I think our parents were friends, or moms mainly, were friends years ago, and we grew up together. Shenton Lumberport have always had a huge positive relationship, and as you were the fire chief there, and when I moved here, I called you up and talked to you, and showed up down there and was promoted up to a captain, and here I am.
Here we are.
Yep.
So finally, last but not least, Dylan Olivito. So this whole SCARS idea was, like I said, was an idea on a napkin that I come up with because of my own struggles and not wanting to waste that opportunity, not wanting to sit back and not do anything about it. Wanted to be proactive instead of reactive about it. So, background, started in the fire service in '96 as a junior member, stayed with the same fire department throughout my volley career, worked my way from junior all the way up to chief, retired in that position, retired as chief in 22. Yeah, 22. EMS was sort of the same thing. I never wanted to be in EMS. I got in EMS because they wouldn't let me ride the fire truck at 16, but I could get on the ambulance and go to a house fire at 16. So in my mind, I was being very smart. But then I kind of got bit by the EMS bug. And Mike's sitting there laughing because when I was 16, I did a lot of my EMS time with Mike. Was fortunate enough to go paid for a little while. Did 5 years at Bridgeport as a paid firefighter, where I became a paramedic, and then went on to fly for HealthNet for about 10, 11 years. Went from that to the ground side as a manager. We built from the ground up the health team Morgantown base, which was an exciting experience, which then merged with Mon EMS in Morgantown, West Virginia, where I eventually became the director of operations, and left that position in late 2022, and now work in sales and enjoy every second of it. So the nice thing about sales is it gives me the family time, because I have a very active family schedule. Between my wife's work schedule and a travel softball kid, it is a little bit ridiculous at times, especially thinking that we would have some downtime during the winter, and got told, oh, no, you're not, because there's tournaments and camps. And don't know if y'all know this or not, but the recruiting process starts at like a freshman level in high school. So we're looking at all that. So for me, this was never done about me. This was done because I know that there's others like me out there. And what I didn't realize is how many there were. And if you really sit down and do the research, I know somebody earlier mentioned Travis Howes on there. Was a Charleston firefighter. Great book. If you get a chance, read his book. Watch some of his stuff on TikTok or YouTube. Very knowledgeable. I hope that our paths cross very soon. But I've also been fortunate to meet some real good industry leaders that I hope that we get to share on our show as well.
Jerry Overton.
Jerry, can't thank him enough for the knowledge that he has shared with me. Aaron Reinert, I can't thank that guy enough for being a coach. Yeah.
And Josh McGahee from St. Charles County
from
Ambulance
SCAD.
District.
Yep.
Wonderful people.
Yep. And I also we've been on for just about 58 minutes now, so we try not to go too much over an hour, but I want to thank the two gentlemen that came up to visit us tonight. Shane, I want you to come over here for a second. Shane, I watched this kid grow up in EMS, and I'm really proud of him because he left. He left us for a little while and went to. He's now down in Florida. He's just in for the weekend visiting, but ended up becoming a critical care paramedic.
Yeah, he
Is that
did.
right? Yeah. So congratulations
Man
on
right there.
that. Yeah.
That's been a dream of Shane's for
Critical care
Yes.
transport's where it's all about.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. Obviously, you've got to see the whole journey.
Yeah, I have.
Patrick got some of it, but yeah, it's been a long time. It was a big move. That's a long ways.
That's a huge move.
That's a whole different set. Very, very fortunate that I had good mentors like you.
Oh,
I don't know.
please,
I don't know if it
I'm
was
sorry,
good
I
or
hate to do
bad.
We
that. I
only
hate
have
to do
another
that.
minute
Good
before that
minute.
starts.
But in all seriousness, it was different leaving, because I'm a loyalist. You know that, maybe even to a fault. But what an adventure getting out and seeing some stuff, see some different medicine.
So one thing about it is that I applaud you for is realizing that EMS does exist outside of West Virginia, and that's something that I'm hoping to bring to the table for our local first responders, because we do have a mentality, and this is not a West Virginia thing, this is an EMS thing all across the globe, of people don't realize that it exists outside their own community. You know, I think that fire and law enforcement does a much better job. Obviously, military does a great job because they go all over the world, but you know, training tactics, transport tactics, you know, things that we don't think about as readily in the EMS service, you know, people get their eyes open when they leave and go see another system,
Absolutely,
you know, a bigger system
absolutely.
and something that's been established for a
I
long
think it's like
time.
technically the third largest or third busiest in the nation for
You're
call volume.
over 18 hours away.
It's something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
How many hours away are you from us?
It's about 16.
About 16 hours.
You gotta remember,
You came here just for this show, right?
I guess we can call it that.
Yeah. Actually, you came to go to a hockey game. I
No,
mean,
no, I had some other business to tend to, but the hockey game did come into that. But for me, there was a lot of adjustment because I didn't realize, I'm not going to call it sheltered, because we get to do some pretty cool stuff here.
Yep.
But not being the only medic on a scene anymore.
Yeah.
One of the first arrests I worked there, I was in training. I believe there was 8 paramedics on scene, and that wasn't counting me.
That's going to kill a
And-
patient every time.
And I literally, I'm like, I asked my preceptor at the end of it. I said, David, is it always like this? He's like, yeah, that's the normal. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? I kind of felt like Ricky Bobby. You know, what do I do with my hands?
So,
But it was a
talk to me a little bit, Shane, and again, without going into great detail, but do you see a difference in the way that they treat provider mental health in your organization versus what you were used to or accustomed to here in West Virginia?
Let me start by saying this is no shot at any individual agencies or anything, but I think it's at the forefront. We're very fortunate that we go through an academy, an EMS academy, where we have our medical directors and certain other people come in and talk. And my local medical director for the county, he is huge on mental health.
Okay.
There's actually a little number he keeps on the side of the whiteboard, is how many first responders we've lost.
Wow.
And he's sick of it, and he's tired of it, like we all are. We actually are working, they're doing good. The county tries to do good. We have resources that are there. It's actually pretty impressive. We have teams, we have all kinds of neat stuff like that, but there's also a lot of funding for that. They're able to fund stuff correctly that, you know, we all know that emergency services in this state just aren't funded.
And funding comes from what resources?
They have a little bit of everything, whether it's grant money, state, federal. To my understanding, there's multiple places that we go through too. So, but yeah, it's a different stigma. I'll just be blunt about it. When Sarah passed away, I went to pick up the phone on my way home from my first critical care shift, and was like, you know what? I'm calling Sarah because she's gonna be so excited. She's gonna like lose her mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I finally got to do this. And Wayne calls me. I'm not even home yet. Our shift changes at 7. You know, so I don't get out of there till 8. That's because I can't shut my mouth.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, no, that never
You learned that
happened.
from him too.
Well, yeah, basically, no, that was before him.
Wow.
But
I'm getting beat up
so-
tonight, man. I love
so
it.
what? Wow, you know, what I mean, crap, that just happened.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit. I went back to work that night, and it didn't hit me till later on, until I got to start talking to friends from back here, and people were like family. And I'll never forget. I was getting ready to go in for an extra shift, And I had had a conversation with one of our administrators at our company, and who I find to be a very she's fantastic. We have some fantastic management, but she's someone I could talk to person,
Sure.
and I trust her 100%. And I'll never forget, I sent her a message. I said, I can't do this. For the first time in my career, from 1,000 miles away, I said, I can't do this. I can't go into work. I can't take care of myself right now, let alone another patient. And so, not knowing what the next words were going to be out of the mouth, I'm thinking, oh Lord, what's going to happen? And she's like, don't worry about it. She went through the process I need to go through. I called and said, hey, I'm not coming in. And the first words out of the assistant supervisor's mouth, they answered the phone, are you okay? What do we need to help you?
That's cool. That's
First
good, Joe.
words out of their mouth. When I flew up here for a good friend of mine's dad's funeral, I called and said, hey, I got to be here. This man was important in my life because he's important to my friend. That's my friend's dad. And there was never a question. And I'm like, I'm leaving for West Virginia right now. This is what's going to happen.
Right.
I got messages from my supervisors, from the high ups, everything. So it's the culture, building the culture of if you feel something, say something, because they're seeing it. We're losing too many people.
I think we often feel like that our administrators are so buried in their own weeds that they don't realize that we're even existent.
Well, look at the stresses and the pressures of upper management in our worlds.
Well, I get
And
that.
of having how many people to fill the bill, where Shane's talking about 8 paramedics on his first.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And I've never seen 8 paramedics anywhere other than maybe the back parking lot.
Yeah, if anyone's watching from Florida, because I know some of our people do get to watch a little bit, this is what I'm talking about. See, I'm not making it up. This multiple paramedic thing is not from where I'm from.
Well, and we had a similar. I won't sit here and say that we had 8, but when I worked at Bridgeport, we were medic heavy on our shift. So, dealing with 3 or 4 other medics can be good. It can also be stressful as all get out as well, because there are too many. Sometimes everybody wants to be in charge of the patient, and that's bad for the patient. But the one thing that the takeaways there is that there are systems out there that care and have got this thing figured out. And I don't think I realized it until I sat down after Sarah's funeral, and I started thinking about the folks that were before, and Mike can tell you over there that we can go clear back to 96 when I started, and they didn't hit me. I didn't understand, and I hate throwing out names, but Mike, you can help me on these. But I remember when I was 16, John McCauley. Is that right?
Yeah, John McCall.
Didn't think, I never put 2 and 2 together, but that was the very first one that I was exposed to in that type of field or industry, So building on from that, so we know of folks that either substance abuse, GSWs, that, how my paramedic instructor basically drank himself to death. And I never put that, I never understood that to be a mental health problem, but looking back now, we missed signs on all these folks that we should have recognized something was wrong, and we didn't. And that's where the coaching comes in.
Back at that time, Dylan, it was, like Shane talks about the 8 paramedics and so on and so forth. I remember running Harrison County with BLS trucks.
Sure. And a medic chase car that was a K car.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. Maybe having a chase car.
Right.
So back then it was, you didn't have time to recognize signs. It was, you had to take care of the patient.
Right.
That's just bottom line, and that's what we've done.
And I think that that's where a lot of the mentality of, first of all, kudos to you. I mean, I've got to watch you grow since Health Team, when we started there together, and I've got to watch you grow, and I'm beyond proud of the accomplishments that you've taken or that you've made in your time. And I mean, you have definitely you're not peaked. You're still going.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of you for that. But you know, the focus shifted somewhere probably in the 2015, 16-ish area to where we started losing more first responders, and we didn't understand quite why. We were like, wait a second, like something's not right. But beforehand, exactly to what Mike was saying, you know, we were so focused on the patients that we were serving that we didn't take that time. We may have not missed the signs because we didn't know what the signs were, or we didn't display the damn things.
So
We
but-
buried it.
But was it all that, or let's also rewind history here a little bit. Did we fully understand the size of this beast?
We didn't.
The size of this
We didn't.
problem.
We still don't.
We knew if a local person died or had committed suicide or something of that nature. What we didn't know was there was 10 other people that day in our same industry across the country that did the exact same thing. So
Look at-
now knowledge is bliss because we're able to do these statistics.
Look how
We're
fast
able
we're
to,
able to
right,
see
and
it and learn
and
it.
take this podcast alone as an example of how you can get a word not only across the county or across the state, but across the country and across the world.
That's
You
right.
know,
Absolutely.
I mean, to think that there might be somebody that's watching this that's dealing with their own problems in Israel right now, or the fact that somebody could be in Alaska or California or somewhere like that, that is hearing our message and is understanding that it's okay to not be okay and it's okay to reach out for the help.
It may be a message that we just might be connecting the dots. Hopefully they're hearing
Sure.
the message. Hopefully just the same as his shift leader writes that number down on his whiteboard. Hopefully it's out there. The message is there. Hopefully we're able to connect the dots. Speaking of which, you asked what the date was earlier. And today's the 29th. You know what yesterday was, right?
First Responder
It's
Day.
First Responder
Yeah,
Day, yeah.
National First Responder Day. So happy National First Responder, belated National First Responder
Yeah.
Day to everybody out there.
Yep.
Well, boys, it's 8:12. We went, what, 70 minutes? It's not bad.
Yeah. Shane's fault.
Shane's fault. Shane's talking.
Anyone knows-
Mike, anything you want to add? I know you're
No,
you've been
He'll come back next
The
time.
the only thing that something was said last night, and it is Chuck told me with their organization and with
Mhm.
Spark, if there was one person, just one
one person.
Yep.
that got the message,
Yeah.
We've said
we
that.
saved that
That's right.
one person.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's about.
It's worth it.
Yep.
The one's gonna turn to two.
Yep.
Yep.
We've said that. We've
Yep.
said that from day one. That's awesome.
And there's
Yeah.
power in numbers with that.
Yeah.
So, the
Yeah.
more of it, the more eyes that are on, the more chance we have to help that one person.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And again, we don't claim to be therapists, we don't claim to be counselors, we don't claim to be doctors,
yet.
but we'll be able to be coaches.
coaches soon.
We'll be coaches
Yeah,
at
that's
some
right.
point, and we
Absolutely.
Exciting.
have
stuff.
this open platform that all of you can even, and I think the next step, and I don't know see what you guys think, but having a private group that's not a public page to where, you sign up as a member of that group, and if you want to, vent something, or vent a call,
Yeah.
then maybe,
Maybe we-
maybe we
Yeah.
do something like that.
Yeah, that sounds fun. We'll make
Yeah.
you go to go more since you ain't allowed in 7-Eleven.
Okay.
You're talking about helping the one person. You have to help one before you can get to two, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
And
That one
unfortunately,
will start to two.
unfortunately, I still feel like I failed a friend, and that's something that's going to stay with me for a long time. Not saying that us taking the summer off changed that outcome, but I still have a friend
Absolutely.
that I can't talk to anymore.
I
Yeah.
feel it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Before we leave,